Welcome to the Fredonia Central School Board of Education meeting for Thursday, October 17, 2024. We start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, so tonight we have a proposed agenda with a consent agenda excluding items A, C, and D in personnel, and items F, G, and H in business. Is there anything anybody would like to have pulled out tonight? Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Next time. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we move right into our first public comment of the night. So here basically are the rules. The board is reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, and limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per individual group. Concerns and comments during the session should be directly related to items listed on the proposed agenda. So is there anybody that would like to speak to the board tonight? Right along. So next we have the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting from October 8th. We have a motion to approve those minutes. Motion. Thank you. A second? Second. Mr. Kinney, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One item tonight on the financial treasurer's report, and that is to approve the applications for the corrected tax rolls for the 24-25 school tax levy. We have a motion to bring that to the table. Mr. Kinney, thank you. A second? I'm sorry? Second. Second, thank you. Mr. Forbes, any comments on these tax rolls at all, or standard?
We've seen a couple this tax season. These are for senior exemptions. The way I understand it, the form they have to fill out. There's a CNT around town and CTS right next to it. And the boxes are laid out. Checking the wrong box and the school officially. So these are corrections.
Okay. Do we have corrections over here?
Usually a couple. Okay. Not so many of the senior exemptions, but more the star enhance the basic.
Right. And any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now that moves us right into personnel. And the first item of tonight is to approve a recommendation for tenure for Stephen Verstraeten. To the tenure position of school psychologist area. Can I have a motion to bring that to the table? Mr. Walters, thank you. A second.
Second.
Ms. Moyna. Dr. Zilkis.
Yeah, I'll kick it off and then allow Mrs. Farrell or Mr. Paschke to share a couple thoughts. But one of the things we talked about here is that Board of Education and the superintendent, that tenure is very important to us. It's not something we take lightly. We view it as something that someone earns rather than being given to them. We spent some time in executive session reviewing our candidates for tenure. Our administrators provided a great amount of feedback. And then we get to a celebratory moment tonight where we have a person in our district, Mr. Verstraeten, who has certainly earned tenure. From my perspective, I do appreciate, first of all, the skill set he brings to the table, particularly around issues pertaining to mental health, de-escalation, and really working with students who at times are struggling to manage fit in to the structures that we have in place in the district. He also brings a very calm, soothing confidence to the table, whether discussion or dealing with more tense or times of conflict or whatever the situation may be. And in general, he just is willing to dig into whatever the issues might be, wherever the issues might be. Over the last year or so, he has spent some time here in the high school where primarily his duties lie, but he's also helped the middle school, the elementary school in Wheelock, and we certainly appreciate him being willing to be flexible and just assist where needed. Ms. Farrell, anything else you wanted to
I
add?
feel like you said all the things I was going to say, but I wrote down some notes just as we were sitting here. Steve is here. He's a great communicator. He has a highly refined skill set. He's able to multitask. He's organized. He is the voice of reason in sometimes difficult dialogue that we have to engage in. He is consistent and steadfast in his support for students and staff. As a former school psychologist myself, I really find myself in awe sometimes of what he brings to the table. He's intelligent, he's a natural leader, and a true professional, and I'm happy to recommend him for
Mr. Paschke, anything to add after those comments?
I don't know if I have any more adjectives, but I just have to say that Steve is all of those things and more. He's a go-to guy for me. His expertise is unparalleled. He's fantastic with our staff and our students, and his knowledge of behavioral, behavioral science, if you will. He can de-escalate. He knows how to deal with kids. He's a great trainer for our staff. He trains us in how to do restraints and the difficult things that need to be done in the school, and he does it with ease, and just a fantastic man. So I can't say enough about Steve. I'm glad to have you on board, Steve. You're a great asset, and we talk about value added times 10. He's a great guy.
I have to say, I read Ms. Farrell's recommendation, and I couldn't stop reading it. It was so good. Obviously, a very valuable asset to the district. Any other comments from the board? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. Now I know how to pronounce your name. Any comments?
I just want to thank the board and the administration for the opportunity you gave me when I came here. I really did reinvent myself after the first part of my career spent doing very different things. But coming into this district with the support that I've received over the years, it really has enabled me to grow as a professional, to get back to my roots as a school psychologist, to really apply what I had learned elsewhere and actually help provide some of that benefit to the district. And I'm very happy to be here. I think when I was first appointed, I said I hope I have found my forever home, and I really think I have. So thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item for consideration is the appointment of Loretta Lucy to a probationary teaching position in the special education attendant area. Do we have a motion to bring that to the table? Mr. Aldrich, thank you. A second? Second, thanks.
Yeah, both C and D. We've had a couple open positions in the district and locally, statewide, nationally. In moments, the teacher shortage is real, and in certain areas, special education, sciences, math. We see these. We also are working on a business position right now. We see these shortages, and we're doing our best to adjust and adapt. Loretta brings a little different scenario than we've had in the past. So she is actually a retired teacher from Westfield who's looking to get back into the mix and recognize that, hey, I still have a lot to give. And she mentioned that she saw the post team more than once, and it felt like maybe the universe was speaking to her. So she applied, went through our process, and was the candidate of choice. We're very happy to have an experienced person coming on board. Really quickly after the weekend. She'll be in on Monday for our 2 transition days. And we'll hit the ground running midweek on her own. So we're excited and glad to have her.
Great. Fantastic. comments at all? All in favor? Opposed? Well, welcome Miss Lucy to our district, special education department. And I think last in personnel is to approve Gregory Holmberg to a full-time long-term substitute middle school science position. That's a mouthful. In the science tenure. Could I have a motion to add to the table? Support. Second? Second. Mr. Kenny, thank you. Dr. Zoas.
Yeah, so this is the other end of the spectrum from Loretta. Gregory comes to us from SUNY Fredonia. He is in the process of completing his certification. He was very highly recommended from Dr. Ray, who was in the education department at the college. And like we've had probably 3 or 4 times in the district recently, again, trying to find the best possible fit. Greg did apply for the position. He was the candidate of choice, but there's a little bit of a transition with his certification. So he's going to begin with us as a long-term sub. He should be certified near the end of December, and then we'll transition to a probationary appointment at that time, starting at his date of certification. So again, we're trying to be creative, we're trying to be innovative, dynamic in how we're approaching these situations, bring in the best possible candidates we can to be in front of our students and spend time with our students. And we think both Loretta and Greg represent all of that, and just on different ends of the spectrum. So he has been here student teaching with Jeff Trubisky in high school. That's gone very well, and we're excited to have him transition over to the middle school starting on Monday as well. Ms. Paul Hames, anything you want to add?
We're excited to have him join our team. His drive, his enthusiasm, he is a hard worker. He's committed to this work. He's excited to begin. He's got lots of thoughtful questions in terms of planning and his preparations going into starting for us on Monday. So I'm excited.
Great. So, retired teacher started out, all into the spectrum as a main candidate. So, any other comments from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome, Mr. Holmberg. Really excited to have you in the district. All right, well, that brings us into the new business for the evening. All the new business relates to the capital project. So bear with me on this. The first item is to approve the State Environmental Quality Review Act negative declaration for the proposed capital improvement project. That is from New York State. Can I have a motion to bring that to the table?
So.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Mr. Kim, thank you. So can you please expand on this declaration?
Yeah, so obviously, in this day and age, and even beforehand, the Central School District is very environmental minded. We want to make sure that any of the proposed capital project in the areas where we will be working, engaging and improving our facilities, that there were no unintended environmental ramifications. So there is a review process that the state requires. And at this point, there is nothing preventing us from moving forward. No action is to be taken. And that's part of what is known as the negative declaration. Melissa from Young and Wright is here with us tonight. I don't know if you had anything to add to that, but
Perfectly captured. No, nothing holding you back from proceeding. Kind of clean and easy process.
Any comments from the board?
If I could, on all 3 of these issues, I feel like I have to present myself and the reason for my vote in opposition to all 3 of these proposals. And voting against all 3 of them to provide some kind of consistency within this vote for me, so that it's clear that I'm not inconsistent in voting in favor of part of this rather than another. So all 3 of these I will be voting against. The main reason for this is we're looking to spend $80 million on a capital project for our
department expansion and for our athletics. But we're not increasing any of the offerings that we are giving to our students. We already have football, we already have soccer, we already have baseball, we already have softball, we already have a music program. And I understand the music program is going towards its maximum capacity, but I'll discuss that later. The problem with the $30 million is part of it is the expansive cost of this, but it takes away from other opportunities that this district is going to face in the future that may have this bigger impact to our students in the future. So by doing this large capital project, we're really taking away what I call the dry powder that we have, the ability, the reserve to undertake something that's even bigger, that's a bigger impact to our students. One of the things that this project looks at is $20 million for road safety. But we know that during our building conditions survey, that there was $50 million of things that we really need to be looking at. And it was, so we've taken $20 million of that for this project. We still have another $30 million that needs to be addressed in a relatively short period of time. I believe it's approximately 5 years. So we're going to our voters, we're looking to go to our voters now for $30 million, but then we're looking to go in another 5 years for $30 million. But really, because of our building conditions survey, it's telling us that we need to do. So we're really hitting them twice relatively soon. The 10% increase to our taxpayers, we've had several people come in and address our board who have said this is too big of a burden for a lot of people who are in the retirement phase who have a fixed income. And if we look at our census, the over 60 age group is one of the biggest growing groups of our area, of our county. Part of that is because of declining birth rates. Part of it is because the baby boomers have now, by December 31st, all the baby boomers will be 60. And then our population is living longer. So that group that is on a fixed income, it's affecting these increases in taxes, is going to affect them the most because they won't have these funds for what that 10% does, and this has been evident for the past 40, 50 years, but it makes our district less business friendly. If we look at where businesses were back in the 60s, there were several large businesses in this area employing a lot of people, and we've seen a lot of those businesses go out, partly because of the increase in taxes, and that New York State and Chautauqua County are not business friendly because of the tax structure. I think that there were approximately 2.5 dozen businesses with over 100 employees that are no longer in this area. And if we look here in Corona, we've got Carriage House is the most, I shouldn't say the most recent, but it's the most significant here in this district. The increase in taxes reduces our property values. That is a reflection of our housing costs, which is our mortgage, our insurance, and our taxes, and that ratio to our income. And when those costs of housing goes up, it automatically brings our property values down. I look at our student population. 50% of our student population over 50%. Mr. Forbes provides us with a budget summary, budget booklet, and that budget booklet has our student population from 1979, every year since. Now, 79 was a great year. Some of us, one certain board member graduated 79, but 50% decrease since the 70s. In the past 25 years, from Mr. Forbes' budget, we've lost 30.6% of our student population. So we have fewer students, and yet we continue to spend money on capital projects that is just unsustainable for our region. The music program has, and I think that every board member can a music program, they do a grand slam home run every single year. And not only do they score 4 runs or 4 base runners, I think every member on that team runs the bases. They do just such a super job. I'm not complaining about anything that they do. I appreciate it. But when we look at the student population, and this has been a steady decrease in population for the past 25 years. If that continues, and there's no indication that it will, we're not increasing our business in this area, our birth rates are decreasing, so it's trending at 1.4% every year on average for the past 25 years. There's nothing that tells me that that's going to change. And for the next 17 years that we're going to be paying for this project, we're going to lose 15 to 20% of our students. And one of the big things that our music program has said is we are at capacity and we can't handle more students, but by the time we get this paid, our student population is going to be so low, we're not going to be able to be at capacity anymore. So I just don't see anything that shows that our student population is going to, the decrease is going to slow down or stop. We look at Fredonia State, they've also lost about 40% of their population over the past 50 years. So I think that we do have issues here in our district, and I appreciate us trying to address those. But because of the decrease in students, because of the tax structure that makes us not business friendly in this area, that we have to look at a different view of how we address some of our needs in this school. I was talking to Mr. Ziliaks here the other day. I think that board members understand that my father sat on this board back in the 60s when the high school was built. He was part of that planning. He was on the school board when our middle school and elementary school were built in the 70s. But that was at a time when our businesses were increasing in the city. It was a time when our student population was increasing. We didn't have the capacity in our buildings to handle that increase in student population. But ever since the early 80s, we've seen this decrease. And we just cannot continue this large tax expense if we're not going to be offering any additional programs to our students. Mr. Ziliaks, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Hahn, and Mr. Marshall were at a meeting last week where we talked about regionalization. where we look at this realization that our student population was slowly decreasing a little bit at a time every single year. And there has to be something done that's different than the normal playbook. Regionalization, consolidation, shared services. Our soccer team right now has done a great thing in my opinion, and that they're playing their games at Columbia State. So these are the types of solutions that this area needs, so that we're not increasing tax burden to our district, to our residents, to our businesses, and we don't need to. If we look at every single school district spending this kind of money for the athletic facility, now we've got over 2 dozen $20 million facilities in our county. Don't think that that's the way that we are going to make this community strong. I think that spending other people's money is easy, and I don't think that that's what I'm here for. We're here to help this school, help this community move forward, and I realize that that's a challenge. We'll end with saying, if anyone has been on a commercial air, before the plane takes off, the flight attendants give emergency protocol. And during that emergency protocol, they talk about what happens in an emergency when there's decompression within the cabin and oxygen masks fall down. And they will tell you, if you're with a child, you put the oxygen mask on yourself before you take care of your child. And that's because if something happens to you before your child can get the care they need, then we have a double problem, and they cannot handle both. So I'm voting opposed to this because I think that our community needs to be more business friendly. We need to take care of our residents before we take care of our students, because otherwise we're going to have two people, two groups with a problem, and we will not have strong schools.
So I want to just open it up to discussion. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in first if I can, and there's a lot going on there, and this is part of bringing a Board of Education together and a superintendent together, you have a variety of perspectives, but from my point of view, I think there's a couple of things here I would just like to touch on, and as someone who's one of many adults who circulates throughout the school district every day, there's a couple of things that we've made a commitment to. One is putting people in a position to become their greatest selves. We made a commitment to be innovative, dynamic, and global in our approach. And we've also made it a commitment to be student-centered. And I feel like at the end of the day, although there needs to be some fact-checking in there somewhere, and I'm not aware of exactly accuracy of all of that, but at the end of the day, to a student, and to someone providing for students or attempting to provide for students, the things that are happening out in the community in terms of business and different inflation rates and other things still leaves the student in a position where we want to allow them the best possible opportunity we can. And I'm proud of the fact that in this capital project, it was not about 8 people, 9 people, 10 people coming together to make decisions for a community. We involved the community on 2 separate occasions and got feedback and heard what people believe that our students needed to become their greatest selves, for us to be innovative, for us to be student-centered. And I believe we packaged the responses to that inquiry pretty well into 3 propositions. And I think laced in all three of those propositions is the idea of safety, increasing safety, or at least trying to provide the safest surface, the safest space we possibly can for our students. And I don't want that to be lost in the kids. I also feel that at the end of the day, as we put another chance for the community to give feedback, people felt like Proposition 1, we'll just ballpark it at 80% of people felt like that was a pretty strong proposition. Proposition 2, somewhere around 60%, and then Proposition 3, somewhere around 50-50. And I felt like, based on that feedback, this deserves to go to the community for a vote. It deserves to allow the community to make the decision whether or not we move forward in these areas. And, really what we're doing tonight is agreeing to put this forward to this community, to the community. We're agreeing on a date for the vote. We're agreeing on the propositions and the language for the propositions. We're not necessarily saying, hey, we are all in full agreement that all of these things are fantastic ideas. We're saying it deserves to go to the community. It deserves to be voted upon. I think the other thing that really made sense to me somewhere along the line is that this is not meant to be critical of anybody. Fredonia Schools has existed for a long time, and most recently, in the last 30 years, we've done 2 capital projects, which has left us in a situation where we now have a lot of work to do. Again, not necessarily anybody's fault, that's just where we find ourselves. So the dollars attached to this reflect some of that inactivity over that time. And someone asked me the question, and I would ask everybody to ask ourselves this question. Over a period of time, particularly in terms of Proposition 3, what exactly has the district done to address the concerns and the safety concerns related to our athletic facilities? That's question number 1. What have we really done? Question number 2 is if we're not going to do something now, when is it that we're going to do it? And at the end of the day, I think this goes back to safety and this idea of putting our students and student athletes in the best possible position to be successful in the safest environment possible. So I just felt the need to share, since we're kind of in a sharing mode here, some thoughts from the other side of perspective. And, at the end of the day, I want our students to have this opportunity, and I want the community to decide.
Actually, I'll speak to the population. Mr. Aldrich, so last meeting, I asked Representative enrollment, and it was a pleasant surprise to see 30 extra students coming to our school, 20, 30, something like that. What I fell down on was there's been some comments made about this could be just a one-off, one-year deal. What I, like you, Mr. Aldrich, I look at during budget season, I like to look at the enrollments because I feel like it's very important that we have, we base our budget on our enrollments. So I look at it also. So I asked Mr. Forbes back in May to send me the enrollments for the past 5 years, which he did. And based on what happened this week, it was kind of like a 1 year off anomaly situation. I asked him to confirm the numbers to me. And I think what we felt now is we should have reported the last 5 years, because in the last 5 years, we've actually been increasing every year, not just last year. And so we actually are a school that has been gaining roughly 20 students per year for the last 5 years. Yes, we've had a strong decline. By 2000, Mr. Aldrich's era, or in the 90s, probably 1,500, I remember 10 years ago, and now we're about 1,450. So yeah, okay, in 10 years we've maybe lost 30, 40, 50 students, but last 5 years, we've been increasing. I really feel like this is important to factor in. We carry our own sports teams. We have, gathered to say, roughly 50 sports teams. And yes, some are combined, but I think there's only one boys school, and that would be a standalone. And that we could not field a team if it wasn't for other schools. So really our other combined sports teams, we're asking them, we're helping them to field a team, whereas we could stand alone with these teams. So I feel like our students really deserve these facilities, both music and athletics. We have, and basically improved facilities not only help us, but the combined teams in other schools that join us. So I very much, we've had a discussion with Mr. Aldrich and I about regionalization. We're definitely willing to listen, willing to see where we can be helpful, but I really feel like we're standing on our own right now. We do not need help from other schools to support these teams. So again, the last 5 years, we have been improving. You could speculate what's the reason why we're increasing our population, but we're increasing. So that's my comments on this, my contribution on this. Ms. Hunt?
Thank you. Please indulge me for a moment. This morning I was out for a walk and I was thinking about all the Halloween decorations I was seeing. My husband and I no longer have a child at home, and I thought, why did I decorate our house for Halloween? It's not for my kids. They're not going to be here for Halloween. And I thought about that, and I thought I decorated for the young children of Fredonia. I decorated for them, for the trick-or-treaters, for the people who drive by. And yes, I did decorate for my own kids so that they know that just because they have moved on to college and they're not home for Halloween, and I don't have children at home or children in this school district anymore, does not mean that I don't have a stake in this community, and does not mean that I don't do things for the best interests of the kids in this community. Everyone on the school board always has the best interests of the students in mind. We balance the best interests of the children with our obligations to other stakeholders, including the taxpayers. We have been fair and honest brokers in that regard. As one example, when we received an unanticipated windfall of ARP money, we returned that to the taxpayers because we only want to ask the taxpayers for money and come to the taxpayers for help when we need you. And taxpayers, we need you now. My husband and I are not Fredonians by birth. We are Fredonians by choice. I was raised outside of Buffalo. I went to the Amherst schools. And then I was away for many years after college. And when my husband and I decided to move back to Western New York 6 years ago, to be near my parents who live in Williamsville, we chose Fredonia. We chose Fredonia for our family and to send our kids to these schools. Why? Because this school district has an excellent reputation. This is the destination district in Chautauqua County. And Chautauqua County is a wonderful, beautiful place. We have the presence of SUNY Fredonia in Fredonia, and we were attracted to the charm of the village of Fredonia. I ran for the school board because I had fallen in love with this community. This capital project will bring significant long-term benefits to this community that I love. First, we've talked a lot here about the stress that our kids are under. And participation in music and in sports is linked to reducing stress, anxiety, and depression among students. That's a simple fact. Modern, well-maintained facilities enhance school pride, helping to foster a sense of belonging and unity among students and staff and the wider community. Schools with modern facilities enhance the appeal of the surrounding area, potentially raising property values and attracting new residents. But don't take my word for that last part. Take the word of Mr. Aldridge's nephew, Nate Aldridge, a superstar in our area. He's the Chautauqua County Economic Development Coordinator and the recipient of the 2024 New York State Economic Development Council Rising Star Award. Nate truly is a superstar. I had the pleasure to hear him speak just today. He spoke to our Rotary Club, and he was telling us the story of Steve St. George and his purchase of the White Inn. And he was telling us that Steve is not restoring the White Inn to its former glory for financial profit. No. He's doing it because of his heart for the village of Fredonia. I asked Nate what he thought of Prop 3, the capital project and the creation of a multi-purpose field for our students. And Nate said, and I quote, "That is a huge opportunity to attract and retain new families and improve the quality of life in Fredonia." In fact, Nate is so optimistic for the future of Fredonia and our students and our school district that he plans to move back here. And we hope many young families will move to Fredonia and not choose another surrounding community that has better facilities and usable, safe fields. No, if someone's moving to Chautauqua County, I want that family to come to Fredonia the way we came to Fredonia. My husband and I did not move here 6 years ago to help write Fredonia's obituary. We moved here to be part of its renaissance. I hope that every member of our community will join me in showing Fredonia pride and supporting all 3 propositions of the Fredonia School District project, capital project.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Any other comments from board members?
I have a few comments as well. I strongly support the proposed capital improvement project, which I believe is essential to enhancing the safety, education, environment, and extracurricular opportunities for our students. And I do not believe that this will distract or undermine future projects that this community will want to take on for our community, for our students. This project includes vital upgrades to our facilities, with particular focus on ensuring our facilities receive timely maintenance, expanding our music programs, and enhancing the safety of our athletic fields. The project outline represents the interests and investment communicated by key stakeholders to the board as being urgently necessary over the last several years, and most recently through multiple polls and public sessions. Through all 3 of these projects, we are aligned with and reinforcing our mission of supporting individuals becoming their greatest selves and living our values as student-centered decision makers. We will continue to build on the strong reputation that currently is drawing students back to our district, where others are continuing to see declining enrollment. This investment will further our goal of becoming a destination district in the Western New York area. We recognize the importance of providing a well-rounded education that includes robust music and athletic programs. The new multi-purpose sports field will offer our students and entire community, enhanced space for sports, physical education, events, fostering personal growth, school spirit, and community engagement. Our music programs will also benefit from upgraded facilities, allowing our students the opportunity to explore and excel in their creative pursuits. We understand that this project will require a tax increase. We have carefully considered this decision. We believe it is necessary investment in our children's and community's future. The long-term benefits of improved safety, enhanced educational experiences, and increased opportunities for our students and our community far outweigh the costs. By supporting this initiative, together we are making a commitment to ensuring that our district remains a leader in providing high-quality education and community.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Marshall?
Yeah, I'd like to add, I won't go too much, I agree with what you said. It's powerful, what Ms. Hahn said. my daughter blew up her knee playing soccer. They did surgery and missed multiple years of sports while she was in high school. In looking at why our fields were chronically terrible, I was surprised to see that this board had literally kicked the can down the road for years on infrastructure. A lot of our students play sports. A lot of our students are music students. The time they never do it. The time is often never right for big choices, for big decisions. But there's always a time to act. I think the time for us to act has long passed us. And as Dr. Ziliak said, this isn't the board making a decision to say, yes, we need to do this, this is what we must vote. The decision here is to bring this to the community and let them decide. Enrollment is cyclical, birth rates are cyclical, there's ups and downs. I've been in higher ed for 27 years. The ups, the downs, the troughs in between. We can do some planning, we can account for things. Not to discredit some of what Mr. Aldridge has said, because there are serious concerns there, sure. But I don't feel that we can continue to kick the can down the road. And because of that, that's why I was supporting moving this forward in the 3 propositions.
Mr. Marshall, any other comments? Mr. Kenny?
I agree with a lot of the board members with what they've suggested this evening. Prop 1, hands down, needs to be done because with time, with weather in this area and so forth, the building needs that maintenance. It's not going to correct itself, especially with roofing situations. With Mr. Aldridge, I'm a numbers guy. I'm curious with that 1450 enrollment of those students, how many are tuition students? Is that what is keeping us afloat? So that is a concern, especially in today's economy. Things are only getting more expensive by the day. Will those parents be able to continue funding their child coming for them? I remember Carriage House, just like Mr. Aldridge. That was one of the bigger employers in the area, and it's gone. Is that going to continue in our community, where we don't have the tax base, we don't have the people living here paying school taxes? So that is a concern of mine. With Prop 2, both my boys, one is definitely the one that likes to be in front of the audience. The other one will be swearing about, dressed in black, and doesn't want to be seen. Well, he's moving the sets around. So I know that for both my boys, the music department is huge for both of them. So I see the benefit of that with what Sheila was mentioning with the music department. I agree with. Prop 3 is a tough pill to swallow, just based on money, where I believe it's, give or take, 78% with the maintenance and the music improvements. So that is of concern. I was never a sports person in school. If they had track, I would stand up for that. But I wasn't a baseball, football kid. So the monetary part of it is a concern to me, but I also see, again, with both my boys, cross country, my other son does soccer. I know the conditions of the soccer field out back versus the college turf. I know Coach Cowan can attest to the baseball fields, outback versus playing on turf. The ground conditions are never going to improve outback. I don't even know if you threw more drainage at it if that would help. So reluctantly, I would be in favor of Prop 3 as well. But the monetary portion scares me. Over 17 years, we've had folks that have come spoke against the Proposition 3 ultimately because they're on fixed income. And shortly, some of us will also be joining the fixed income because we are getting up there a little bit in age. Not to single us out. So that's all I have to say.
I forgot to mention one thing I wanted to mention. Mr. Marshall, you brought it up with your daughter. My kids play baseball, softball, football, and unless you truly are on those fields, you don't understand how bad they are and what the playing conditions are actually like. And so I observed that firsthand through that. Coach Cowan's here tonight. Thanks for coming. You live this out there with the baseball fields and the wetness. This afternoon I got around to reading the environmental report. Being a science guy, I was kind of interested in going through the whole thing, and I got to the soils bit, and it was stated in the report that the U.S. Department of Agriculture cites that the water depth, the water table depth out back is less than 3 feet. So that means the water is within 3 feet, so no wonder our fields are so wet. That's confirmed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So I really feel like, those fields, that's what it's been like for decades. That's where our coaches, our players, our athletes, our spectators, that's what they're absorbing. I think it's no small wonder that we had quite an interest in the survey over the summer based on people who have actually been out there and played out those fields. So, are there any other comments at all?
Mrs. Dunlop did send some comments as well.
Oh, okay.
Just to include, make sure she unfortunately is unable to attend. So for Mrs. Gallo, as a parent in the district, I have witnessed and listened to complaints with our facilities for more than 10 years. As a board member, the past few years, this has been the single most consistent issue brought to the board. The argument against is singular, cost. The arguments are plentiful, and even those who have spoken up in opposition agree that the work needs to be done. Or there are 2 propositions beyond warm, safe, and dry. They are not in order of importance. And in order to best meet the safety and future needs of 100% of our students, I fully support all 3 propositions.
Great. Okay, thank you. Well, very good, rigorous discussion there. It's time for us to vote on this.
If I could, I would just say,
sorry.
I will stand by my thoughts of regionalization, and I will stand by every single fact that I've stated.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Myers. Okay, so if there's no further discussion, we'll vote on this resolution. All in favor?
Actually, I'm sorry, can I
Sorry.
just,
Yeah.
we're talking about money. I think for the average taxpayer, for the average household, we're talking about 2 Whopper meals from Burger King each month.
Each month.
We're talking about less than $30 a month. I think for the average household, we're talking something like $35.
Yeah.
That's what that's where we're at, $25 a month. Not that that's not nothing, but it's $25 a month.
And for this tax increase, we're getting something out of this. We're getting a multi-purpose field. We're getting enhanced music suites. We're upgrading our critical maintenance. So
We're adding value to the
we're
community.
adding value to the committee, to the community. So yeah, thank you. So,
And on regionalization, don't we want students to come here and play on our fields? We are Fredonia. Let's have some Fredonia pride.
well, they are now. Already.
I'm saying going forward, if we don't do this, then they won't be coming here because we will not have safe fields going on.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Any other comments, discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, well, next, that's item 1. So, well, next is to approve a resolution for a special meeting and a vote on Thursday, December 12th, and to approve the legal notice for the 2024 capital project. Can I have a motion to bring this to the table?
So moved.
Ms. Hawk, Mr. Kennedy, second. Okay, thank you, Dr. Zoras. Anything on this resolution?
I kind of used up my comments at this part of the meeting prior. But again, I would just say, we've done our best to gather input from the community, put together 3 propositions that sort of reflect that input, and I think we've tried to arrange them logically in some type of order that allows our community members and our taxpayers some choice, kind of a tiered approach. Again, I think the thought here is that we're agreeing that this deserves to go forward to vote.
So I think we spent most of our discussion, what is the discussion on this?
Just one concern from a community member. This vote will occur on December 12th, which is strategically put in other words on the day of the concert. Leave a ball game, but I'm not so. Which they were concerned about that specifically put that towards making it convenient for music people and people to come to the district to vote and pay bills. They also have, this individual also has concerns, we do this in the spring and the winter. His comment was, if we wanted the true input from our district, we would have this go the 1st of October. We have a market if you bring your school taxes into the school and vote on the capital.
I mean, my response to that is that is what we've done for our annual vote year after year on the night, usually in a concert or other events. I think part of that was, in our minds, people are here, and why not keep that, instead of adding another night, they can attend something at the school, and if their families are busy, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of responsibilities. I feel like we're following the pattern that we've set for many years.
So is this out of the ordinary for other districts? Is this out of the ordinary for districts?
I think it's fairly common. I don't hate to say too much about other districts since they're not really focused here.
The only thing that I would add to that is we started this analysis and this process a year ago with a timeline, and the timeline from a year ago was laid out that it would take this process for us to be thoughtful, complete all of the parts appropriately, do all of the external checks that would get us to this point. So I'm not sure, as a board, then that how we would have backed up to make this go any faster. I don't know. I'm looking to you. We're right on track to our original schedule when we started this a year ago.
Yes, I would say you followed the intent that you had to vote in December. The first time I met you, I think, and there is a financial component to this too, that, if you take on your debt by a certain time, that you have some aid that's associated with that. So that is a factor that you're looking into in the future as well. So backing from that and saying there's a day that you need to start taking on cost associated with that, that actually has a benefit to your taxpayers by taking on that cost in a fashion that allows that debt service to basically help help the cost of the project for the taxpayers. So that timeline is very large and has been worked backwards from like a 2026 date, John, if I recall. So it's working backwards from that date, and yes, this is following that plan that you set more than a year ago to bring you to tonight.
Any other comments? So, what we're doing tonight is we're voting to take this to a vote to allow the community to vote. Props 1, 2, and 3, which will be on Thursday, December 12th, between 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. So if there's no other discussion, all in favor of approving this resolution? I'm sorry?
Okay.
Did we?
No, this is the second.
Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
voted on the seeker, but the legal notice. No, you bring up an excellent point, Julie, because the legalese does blend for a lot of
Good
people.
evening, everyone. This is Mr. Gaffney.
Here, Ed.
Thank you all for coming. I want to thank all of our staff for being here. And
One
extra
moment
kudos
now.
to that science department for bringing in a goodie tonight. Thank you all so much. And have a great night.
So I'm going to vote on
Yes,
this?
so, yes, we're good to vote. This is the piece that announces and makes real the vote on December 12th and allows the public to come in and vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Thank you. Okay, finally, the last item under new business tonight is to approve the agreement between the Fredonia Central School District and Buffalo Construction Consultants for on-site construction management services for the 2024 capital facilities project. We have a motion by Mr. Marshall, supported a second, thank you. Any comments on this, Mr.
Yeah, so I think, thinking positively that these resolutions will pass tonight, we really want to engage with our construction manager as soon as possible. They've been joining us for Zooms and being in the background, kind of their own volunteerism up until this point. Any of the costs associated with the construction manager is built in to the figures that you have provided. It's great to be honest with that. We have a representative here tonight from the company. Thank you for being here, and if you want to share a couple thoughts with the group.
Yes, my name is Mark Wendling with Buffalo Construction Consultants. I know you all met Bill Mahoney, one of our owners, at a previous meeting. Unfortunately, he had a conflict tonight, so we're swapping, but I've worked closely with John on the previous capital projects. That was a very successful project. We work very closely with Young and Wright, and very appreciative of the opportunity to work with this team on future capital work here. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Any comments? So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks. Well, that leads us into our second round of public comments. We had a lot of discussion from the board tonight. Is there any comments from the audience? Good, okay, thank you. We'll move on. Well, we're on the superintendent's report.
Yeah, a couple things. I'll try to keep it moving, but I wanted to start by sharing that now that we have official resolutions outlining these propositions, there's a number of things that will happen in terms of communication from the district, in terms of the upcoming capital project and vote on the 12th. So you probably have noticed a few things happening. Thank you guys for appreciating being here. One is that we've been doing our best to gather contact information to QR code from individuals who are not currently on contact information. So if there's somebody who has recently had any of their sons or daughters move on and are no longer a parent in the district, that would apply. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, other people who just maybe over time are not as connected to the district as they were in the past. They have the ability to get on a mailing list and opt in to receive communication from the district about this. This has been fairly successful. We appreciate people being interested and wanting to learn more. We also appreciate our Board of Education getting out at several games and interacting and asking people, do we have your contact information? Would you like to receive information? And a lot of people have signed up through the use of that QR code. That will continue, upcoming concerts, upcoming events, Dunkirk, several Dunkirk Fredonia games coming up that will be a visible presence at, so we look forward to that. We will also continue with just kind of our old school presentations. Here as part of our board meetings and other public meetings, we'll be inviting the community in, and we'll also be going out to connect at a variety of other public meetings as well. On the books right now, we have a date with the Rotary Club. I'm also making a secure date with the Fire Department to go to them and share that information. We are working on our website to have a section that's totally devoted just for the capital project, an easy one-stop shop where people can gain information, see a variety of things related to the capital project. Part of that will be both electronic and hard copy flyers that will be going out, highlighting some of the key components of the project, the proposed project, and just reminding people of the vote on December 12th. Also using social media, as we typically do, to get information out and reminders out as well. We are in the final steps of finalizing the Q&A document that just goes through some of the recurring questions that have come up over time. Easy access, people can go in and just see what questions have been asked and see the response from the district. Also direct messaging, again, if people who don't have their contact information and they're opting to allow us to direct message them, either through email or text, we'll be doing that. We also have a mini newsletter in the works that will be going out to the school community. We are also looking to connect with local newspaper and radio, and I recently met with Mr. Wade, teachers in the middle school, who is assisting us with a video that again highlights some of the things within the plan. So, we are not making any assumptions, although here it seems like we've talked about this a lot. We've had a lot of communication, there's been a number of articles, especially in the Observer. However, we recognize that this might, now that that December 12th date is out there and some of the theory of this is becoming reality, some people might perk up and engage a little bit more, and we certainly don't want anyone to feel as if we are not communicating, not extending ourselves, and not reaching out to people. The last thing the last item I want to mention is we're also going to have lobby boards at the high school, middle school, elementary school, and at Wheelock, and also at the event entrance. It's just two boards that outline some of the key components within the project. So we're excited to be moving forward. We're excited to be sharing information, and please look for any and all of that coming your way in the future, and probably increasingly as we ramp up for December 12th. Also, just wanted to mention real quick that we have done interviews for our Student Board of Education representative. We're in the process of sorting that out, and we'll have that individual. Or, remember we did talk last year about potentially having a selection with an alternate or alternates. So we haven't totally gone away from that concept. That's still in the mix. So we'll be getting back to everybody on that as well. The other thing that we've been focusing in the district on is attendance. And as we started to dig into this issue and learn a little bit more, one of the things that stood out when you start looking at articles, research, data around attendance is that it's a complex issue with a lot of different nuances. So some of the factors that are in play, even in just monitoring or calculating attendance, include a variety of things. When a student is tardy or a student leaves school early, when a student leaves early and then returns to school before the end of the day, factoring in excused absences and unexcused absences, and also the possibility of, at times, attendance errors, either through inputting incorrectly or even our system enrollments going down or not operating correctly. So there's a lot to take in. There's also this idea of how do we track missed instructional time versus time students miss that's not instructional. We reached out to BOCES to better understand this, and they are going to be assisting us in bringing more and more information forward throughout the year. We recognize that there are a lot of factors involved, and we want to do our best to bring information that's helpful and relevant to helping us understand how big of a problem is attendance in our district, and then what can we do or should we be doing to address it. Part of this is monitoring our attendance month to month. One of the most basic attendance measures is just the attendance percentage. That's typically calculated by the actual total number of days attended compared to the total number of days within our school calendar. We took a look at September this year compared to September last year. Now, Wheelock is not so helpful because technically last year the attendance percentage was about 80%, which would be alarmingly low. However, some of you know that Wheelock starts their year on a staggered start. And last year they recorded it differently. And like, for example, there's times when half the class comes in one day and half the other day. Last year, if that half wasn't in session, they counted them as being absent. So that skewed that number. This year, factoring in excused absences during that period of staggered start, the attendance rate is 96.29. So fairly strong. Generally, people who work with attendance will tell you if you're in the 90s, you're doing pretty well. When you start to dip below 90, questions come. If you dip further down towards 80, definite concerns. And below 80, you probably really need to take action. Elementary school last year, attendance rate for September, 94.86. This year, 94.50. So technically, a small decrease, but still in that solid 90s number, which is nice to see. Middle school, last year, 96.28. This year, 95.38. So again, a small decrease, but still solidly in the mid-90s. High school last year, 90.78. This year, 92.34. So an increase, moving in the right direction. Still in the lower, but solidly in the 90s. So at least for September and the start of the school year, those numbers are encouraging. Those numbers look good. We are hoping to maintain those numbers throughout the school year. And as we reach the end of each month, we are going to bring the same information back, but also through the help of BOCES layering in a few more measures to help us understand this from a larger perspective. So this is definitely part of our focus in the district this year. We're going to be working hard to learn more, seek to understand, as we've been saying, as part of becoming habits, and really look to make progress in this area. And a lot of the work that is involved in attendance really gets back to some of the things that we have been working on, creating a welcoming environment, creating an environment where people feel like they belong, creating an environment where people feel like they're connected to both students and adults, creating an environment where people feel like they have somewhere to go or someone to go to when they experience struggle. And I think those are some of the hallmarks of our districts and some things that we already have in place that we can build from as we dig into this unit. So, in the moment, any other thoughts, questions about attendance?
Just one thing I thought was so interesting, in multiple things we've read about it now, they mentioned that other school districts in the country have had to great success with having local pediatricians add that to the list of questions they ask a family during the annual checkup. How is your school attendance? And just reinforcing the importance of that.
That's a good point.
The only other thing I would say is I really appreciate it. I know this was kind of an extra add-on that we were looking for tracking, and I appreciate the diligence and, doing this with rigor and still providing us with some tidbits to get us started and show that we're moving, in the right direction to understand this and develop the program. So thanks for everyone pulling together on that.
Sure. Good start. Some also
Along with the attendance, you're giving us averages. If we do a deeper dive, is there a small group of chronic individuals? Is this, how condensed is this group that is not attending school?
Well, I think that's part of what we're trying to understand. I think we're starting with some general broad strokes, and I think part of the reason we're engaging OCs is to really continue to drill down deeper and deeper, and eventually get to an understanding of what are maybe the subgroups where attendance seems to be more prevalent, and what individuals in the district maybe perhaps to target or work with, or think about how we might be able to do things different. So, it's October, we're kind of more at that general phase right now, but additional, more specific information.
Do you have data for the ones from last year? Was there a decline last year? We started off strong in September and then slide this time around. Is that something that could be gathered?
Yeah, we definitely have that data. I don't have that information for you tonight. But I think in general in most districts that September probably is a strong attendance month. But it's also nice to get off to a good start and be in the mid-90s, low to mid-90s to start the school.
It's very pleasant results in September. And thank you very much. On the student rep, I just comment, student advocacy is the New York State School Board Association stresses what schools should do. And having the student rep last year, this year is fantastic. Really, kudos to Mr. Aldrich. You kind of championed this over the years, and we're ahead of the curve. So we have that already in place, and eventually this is going to happen for all school districts. So we're excited to see student rep or student reps who they may be able to join us at the table.
Lastly, I just wanted to turn it over to Mr. Paschke. One of the things we've been kind of tracking is the developments around new schedule at high school, also on cell phones, and he has a little bit of feedback on self-test.
Yep, I'll share with you the bullet points that I shared with our cell phone committee. We reconvened last Wednesday after a few weeks of school. Remember last year, I think it was February, as we started looking at putting together a group to start studying and getting together, making recommendations. So this is our update from the meeting. Cell phone procedures continue to go well with strong compliance and keeping phones in lockers. Student surveys, I did student surveys the previous week. About 2/3 of the student body responded, indicating about 90% compliance and satisfaction with the current procedures. And our current procedures are just having the cell phones in their lockers from 7:40 to 2:20. And these were anonymous surveys, didn't collect emails or anything like that. Cell phones that we have had turned in so far to the office have overwhelmingly been for students not having their phones in their lockers. Only 4 incidences as of Wednesday of last week were for students actually using their phones during the day, for the school year up until Wednesday. Approximately 80% of the respondents felt that moving to the yonder bags would cause a greater problem with compliance. And 86% of the respondents did not want to move to the yonder bags ever. The staffing. What's that?
Can you
The
explain?
underbags?
No, why that would be?
I think that they feel like right now, if they're in their lockers, if there's an emergency, they could run to their locker and get their phone. And I think that makes the parents feel better too, that if there's an emergency, they could, even though the procedure for like a lockdown and everything is not to use your phone, you really wouldn't be able to get out of the room because the doors are locked, but I think that's just a perception that makes them feel like if I need it, it's there. And with the bags, even though they would carry their phones with them, it would take time to get all of them open with a magnet, and just it's not accessible. So I think the feeling that they know that their phone is still there, not like locked behind something, they can get to it. It's just a better feeling.
It gives them one more step of control.
It does.
And by the bags, they have zero control.
They have zero control from that whole time. Yep, for the whole time. With the exception, like if there is an emergency, they can approach either a staff member or the high school office who would be able to unlock it for them. But I think you're right, it's a feeling of control. And the students feel like this is my phone, don't touch it, don't take it, don't keep it. That's just the general feeling of the students. Most of the staff responded that they're very satisfied with the current procedures, and a handful were only somewhat satisfied. But generally, the staff is pleased with where we are, the culture that it's created, the feelings of more socialization in their classrooms, more group work, visiting the lunchroom on a regular basis. It's kids are talking, they're having good conversation, their eyes are up and looking at each other instead of down at their phones.
Mr. Kashke, can you explain why only somewhat satisfied?
There wasn't a comment section for that. It was just they had to rank it like very satisfied, somewhat satisfied, neutral, or somewhat dissatisfied or dissatisfied. There were three teachers who put somewhat dissatisfied. Nobody put very dissatisfied, and nobody put neutral. So everybody was either satisfied or very satisfied, with the exception of three. Our new computer teacher, Mimi Joint, she's already integrated. This is one of the things we talked about as a committee, the importance of integrating digital citizenship lessons into our computer courses, and she's already started doing that and reports that it's going very well. She loves it. It's fun to really teach the kids about the importance of like how you use your cell phone appropriately, and she's bringing in components of the law and appropriateness with the internet and social media, and how these things, if you post things that are inappropriate, how it can affect your job and so on. People look this stuff up. So that's been going well. Also, I just noted this for everybody on the committee that computer applications is a course that all students must take one semester up before graduating. So all of our students eventually get exposed to this. I shared with them that Dunkirk started out the year with the Honor Bags day one, and they've had a great deal of pushback from their students, and many destroyed bags. After having an opportunity to communicate with their high school principal, he said, if you're experiencing strong compliance right now, he goes, I would not recommend using these bags. The kids hate them. They are destroying them regularly. And I'm not saying that that's what would happen here, but that's just the experience that he was having. So as a cell phone committee, our feeling is to let what we have right now float for a while to see where we are, and if we continue to be satisfied with the level of compliance, the stronger socialization of the students, and focus on it says, and the focus our kids have been showing, possibly not moving to the honor bags at all, just because the kids are focusing more in classes, they're socializing and complying with the rule pretty much. The district, this is one thing that was a piece of concern the group brought up. We were looking at having a means to communicate with the students from the parents, like if they could use their cell phones to contact the kids and they could get on their Chromebooks. But I think we've narrowed it down to two possible options for software that can do this. And I don't think we've committed to one yet, so that is not in place at the beginning of the school year, but something that I think still needs to be determined, and whether or not, which one actually functions better, costs, all of those things, but that hasn't been determined yet. Sorry, it's really small. That's pretty much it. The last piece I just said, my feelings, I'm really proud of our students and staff with maintaining a high level of compliance and positive culture in the school. If we can maintain or improve the compliance that we have so far, I think that we should hold off on the bags as well, and that was the recommendation of the cell phone committee. But if we do start to see a negative turn with compliance, we might want to look at the bags as the next step. Yes?
Just in relation to the parents getting home with the students, has our administrative office staff seen any change in the number of calls or the number of contacts that they've had to manage in that flow of really urgent or required communication?
There has not been a ton of phone calls in the offices. However, we have a student use phone, excuse me, and I think it's the only landline phone that's not, like all of our phones are connected to the internet now for all of our rooms and offices, but we have one landline phone still in our what used to be the high school office in our guidance area, and that's what our students have been using. And that there's a lot of traffic there. So the kids have come to, just like we used to go line up for the payphone when I went to school here, the kids are using that. And it seems to be working just fine.
Great. Super.
Yep, so it's usually more, I think the kids are calling their parents if there's an issue. And that has been a common thing, and this isn't part of the survey, but just word of mouth from the kids, just a calm feeling that I feel like my parents would check on me so much and text me during the day. It was like, I feel free. So from that, I'm like, okay, that's great.
Yeah, I was on the cell phone committee, as I've mentioned before, and it was fantastic because, by the way, I'd recommend in the future, I really enjoyed it, board members beyond committees. It really helps us get to know people, helps us to understand what's going on in the school. And, I really enjoyed being on the cell phone committee this summer, and you were very transparent. You included all cohorts, and I was for the undergrads in July.
As was I.
But then you decided to wait on the undergrads.
Actually, by the recommendation of the Yonder Company,
Yeah.
they said, it's really better not to start day one with it and kind of ease into it. But given what we see down the road with all the destruction of the bags and the high level of compliance at our school so far, it's been great. And it's not perfect. And I spoke to student council this past week on Wednesday also. I said, look, I'm not so naive to believe that there aren't more kids out there that have a phone like shoved down their waistband or something and they're using it, but we're not really seeing it. So if they're doing it, I don't think they have anyone to contact, because most of the kids have them in their lockers. And sadly, our kids aren't using locks on their lockers anymore. They take the lock off and they hang it inside. So I would say probably 60% of our lockers don't have a lock on them. They just hang them on the inside, and you open them up, and some of them are just, the doors swung open most of the day, and their cell phones are just sitting right there. No one's taking them. And we do have cameras all over the hall. You'll be able to see something they did. But I can see the cameras, the cell phones are in the lockers constantly. So it's pretty cool. I couldn't have asked for really a better response, and with only really 4 kids that have been misusing their phones so far this year, I'll take it. That doesn't mean that there aren't more kids that have had their phones on them. If you have kids, you can just see the outline of their phone in their pocket, like, here, come over here. That needs to go back in your locker. And they're compliant. If they aren't compliant, then it becomes an insubordination issue. But our kids have been great with it, with the exception of just a couple that kind of fought back. It's my phone, you can't touch it. I'd rather die than you have me take my phone. I'll go to suspension. I don't care what happens to me. But
Any other comments?
It's good.
So where do you see the mental health of our students because they don't have these cell phones? I mean, that was the real reason here. It's not that kids were on phones; it was that they were on their phones too much, and it affected them mentally. It affected their ability to think and focus on what they do.
The teachers are reporting in class. The kids seem to be a lot more focused. They're enjoying the class time a lot more. Just being able to talk more with each other. And we're not seeing. It's not that there's never any bullying going on. I mean, the kids still might say mean things to other kids, but it's not the daily constant. Oh, I'm going to pull out my phone and check what Jimmy said about Jenny, and those are the things that were sucking up time. And the kids that are saying mean things to other kids, the kids that are being bullied, for whatever reason, they can't stop looking. They want to know, even though it's hurtful to them. You know, you try to say block these people, do whatever, it doesn't happen. And so we aren't seeing that this year because the kids, you know, is it happening outside school? Oh yeah, you know, it is. And I can't fix that, but we have 6.5 hours every day where they're not burdened by that at least. And maybe there's a buildup of bad things on their phone when they pick it up at the end of the day, but at least during the school day, they're not burdened by it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pasha.
Thank you.
Anything else, Dr. Zillis, for the report tonight?
I just don't want to forget, I do this every once in a while, as you probably noticed, Mr. Drollinger can't be here tonight, and he just wanted to chime in. The elementary school continues to use the Billy's reward system, where students earn Billy bucks for positive behavior, and then they eventually are able to enter a drawing and you know, earn something back for those positive interactions and those attributes that we want to see in our students. That's continuing this year. That's been successful. The kids really enjoy it. There's definitely some excitement on the day when there's drawings and whatnot. And again, it really goes back to reinforcing that positive behavior. He also just wanted to mention that at both their grade level teams and as a building in general, they're starting to dig into the state assessment data. And he'll have more information coming forward about that. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of deep conversation happening around how we could potentially improve those results. And he also wanted to just thank Dr. Wright, number one, for leading some of the literacy initiatives and for the pilot that is taking place this year at the elementary level. And he really feels like there's some excitement there. And also with the letters training that Dr. Wright was involved with as well. And people are learning a lot about best practices in reading instruction, and that's really permeating throughout each class and throughout the building, and really creating some different strategies and different approaches to what we've done in the past. So things are going well at the elementary school. He just wanted us to highlight those here tonight.
Yeah, data's music to more numbers. I like that. So, and attendance and cell phone, very positive superintendent's report. Things are going well there. Okay, the next Board of Education meeting will be on Tuesday, November 5th. It's going to be back to our normal Tuesday time at 6 p.m. So, any other comments from the board tonight?
I was our representative at the NISBA business meeting that was online, voting on legislative priorities. There were 26 that were supported by the committee of NISBA that kind of tell you what they think. You know, schools put forward ideas, and then they either support them or don't. And then all the voting delegates vote on each one. So for the most part, the votes went the same way as NISBA's recommendations. It was a little hard. It looked to me like a lot of the schools, the board had looked at everything and agreed how the person would vote. But I was just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure our board would agree with this. So there was one where I voted against the grain, and the group going against the grain was successful. And that was, there was a recommendation that one of the legislative priorities maybe was like go against judges being able to say someone who makes a threat against a school should be kept on bail. So in any event, they were saying, no, we don't think anyone should be held on bail. And then all of us were like, oh yes, we think if someone makes a threat against a school, they should be held. And we did prevail. But I do just want perhaps some applause because it was a 5.5 hour
Yes, that's why I didn't say that. I saw it and I thought I'm not touching this one.
Yeah, I assume next year we won't have a delegate at that meeting.
Well, can you shoot me an email that you did attend? I mean, one of our goals as a board is to professional development, to attend these sort of meetings. Not that I'm keeping track individually, okay, but as a group, we're trying to do better than we did last year. So, thank you so much. I was surprised that you guys were in on that.
I would just add, I also participated in a committee this week, as did many people at this table, our district advisory committee, which is not 5.5 hours, thankfully, but it could have been, given the amount of work that our advisory team does. And so it's a meeting that happens twice a year, going through the goals, reviewing the goals that they set in each building last year, and then setting new goals for this year. And it's a committee that I've participated in for quite some time, and I'm always really overwhelmed with the amount of work and programs and things that are in place from that advisory support around all of the academic work that goes on. So definitely appreciate that team very much.
Thank you for representing us. And thank you. Great. Any other comments from the board tonight? I'll talk out. Okay.
One clarification on that meeting we went to about regionalization. I don't believe they did mention consolidation. It was just about regionalization.
There's about ways we can help each other. Basically. Starting with small pieces. Okay, Mr. Paskey, anything else about yourself? I was caught you drinking.
There you go. Sorry.
Go get you home soon.
No, that's good. That's good. Just a couple quick things. We're giving our panorama social emotional survey tomorrow morning to all of our students for the first 20 minutes of the school day. We're also giving the PSAT tomorrow during our half-day time. So we figured it's a good time to, when we have a half-day with like 17-minute periods, it's not the best. So we figured that would be a good time to give those exams without really disrupting the entire regular school day. So those are underway. I'm going to leave it there. Go ahead.
Okay.
We just wrapped up conferences, as you know, you wrapped up for us on the announcements. We had 2 successful Thursdays in a row. Our teachers were packed with lots of parents and families to meet, so that was a great turnout, and they still had some other conferences to make at different times, so that was a great turnout. We wrapped up the food drive that I shared here last Tuesday, so I'll be anxious to find out the winner of the Home Room Challenge with donations. That will come tomorrow. And on to the next service learning endeavor will be Pink to School on October 25th. So that will come out soon. And finally, our modified sports will be wrapping up the end of this week, maybe into the beginning of next week before we're into the fall season.
Great. Thank you.
So I think since the last meeting, Mr. Paschke was involved in this with me and our high school team. We're in what's called a targeted skills group, and we're looking at the dropout rate for students with disabilities. So it's a very planned out throughout the year process that goes from September till August, and we're going to be, I can't remember the word, but basically fact-finding or finding the root causes of dropout and developing some plans for our students. So I'm sure some of the factors of attendance that we talked about will be looked at within that group, but just kind of a nice collaborative process. I'll be reporting out on that as we gain more information. Last week, Thursday, I did mention this at the last board meeting too, but we invited a speaker in. Her name is Christine Scotto. She works for Persons on Services. So we had 18 parents, students, and families participating in an informational session on securing what's called care coordination for individuals with developmental disabilities. So it was really well received, well done, and I think we got a lot of good information to some of our families. And I guess just kind of in visiting some classrooms, I just wanted to comment that, especially in our self-contained classrooms, in the elementary school, I was in one classroom today, and watching the kids do this very interdisciplinary, fun lesson about apples, and they made applesauce, and they're therapists that come in and work on the fine motor skills and the communication skills, and just to watch them kind of put that all together was really a cool thing. So I'm really proud of all the collaborative efforts that happened.
Great. Thank you for accumulating that data too. Dr. Roy.
All right. Well, one of the, I know that our next board meeting is on Tuesday, November 5th, and that is also our in-service day. today. And so that we have to do November 5th, and we're very excited that, as Mr. John was talking about, the emergency pilot this year, which is grades K through 4. We will be having a facilitator trainer from the HNH company, which is the integrating that we are piloting this year. We'll be working with all teachers, kindergarten through 4th grade. And I know they're very excited about this. They've had a chance to really look at it and dig into it, and now they'll be able to have their questions for different areas they want more training on specific to what they're doing. Our AIS, or response to intervention teachers, will also be part of this. Special educators will be part of this, and our EL staff will be part of this. So it's exciting to have all of that, everybody coming together and working together on that. Mr. Jollinger created a Google Doc where people could list the key areas and then vote on the topic, so that this will be ahead of time, so we can give that to the trainer to make sure that we are capitalizing on this day. In-service days are so important. This is our 4th of 5 in-service days for this school year. And other teams will be doing other things. Our art department will be working together on the art pathway. We have our STEM team will be working together, the 4-4, if you will, science, social studies, ELA, and math, grades 5-12 will be getting together as teams and departments to dig into data, to look at some of the different aspects, and it's a time to really rich collaboration, uninterrupted all day long, that is so necessary to inform practice, to align practice, and to discuss some of the things our instructional leaders go to the forums at BOCES, which is where all the state and regional updates happen, and it's a chance to really dig into those things. So we're really excited about that, and again, that'll be on.
Mr. Forbes, anything else? Ms. Wilson?
Just really quickly, for anyone, aside from Sheila, because she's ready to go for the NISPA coming up. They do have the digital option this year, because obviously traveling to New York City isn't always something that fits well into everybody's schedule. We do have the digital access, which gives you every keynote speaker, all of the planned discussions for all of the different pathways. But I will be registering by noon tomorrow. So if anyone's interested, you can either let me know tonight or shoot me an email tomorrow morning. That's fine. And I'll just do the registration to catch up by noon tomorrow, and then it starts on Monday the 21st.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sheila, for being the delegate this year, because it's not for the faint of heart.
It was democracy in action.
Yes, it was, for 5 hours.
All right, well, there's no need for executive tonight, so we can close out the meeting. Students, thank you for coming, notable students. Believe it or not, this is not the latest meeting we normally have, so we could have been later.
By far.
And by the way, thank you for sitting up front. It's really nice. There's cheap seats in the back there. But you can see this. Very, very appreciative of that. But you can have anybody sign it. So, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. Hahn, thank you. Second.
Second.
Mr. Kim. He's got it. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's now closed.